episode of Normal Guy Super Life. Today we are stepping through, kind of call it 101 of getting started in the IT or cybersecurity field. We're going to download some software. We're going to start with VMware Workstation. Now that it's free, this is a great opportunity. The first video that I spoke about it, I think it's like $200, but now this is free. Show you how to download, set that up. And then we're also going to use some free operating systems. Yes, we'll be using different Linux distributions. Without further ado, let's get to it. All right, one of the first things that we want to do is, this was simple. I just did a basic search of download VMware Workstation Pro. If you get the blogs.vmware.com/workstation 2024, etc., in the URI, go ahead, click that link. Page should display. You'll see VMware Workstation Pro 17, VMware Fusion Pro. We are going to go with Workstation Pro for those of us that are using Windows. I'm a Windows guy. If you're using Mac, whatever, sorry. No harm, no foul. Scroll down, VMware Workstation Pro download, or if you are using Fusion, I'll be doing this using Workstation. Hit your download. Oh, it redirects you to the Broadcom website, but let me log out first. I was already logged in. Log out, kind of show you what this looks like. So when you first come to the website, it'll redirect you here. Assuming you don't already have an account, go ahead, register, go through the registration stuff. Once you've done that, come back, log in. Now, this may look a little bit different for you. Okay, good. It did bring up the page. It did actually log me out and not cache the history. Go ahead, enter email. All right, once you're logged in, brings you back to this same home screen. You can look at all the different resources that are available to you, or shortcut that I found, because when I first did this, I literally beat my head against the keyboard trying to figure out how to get to the VMware Workstation download. Couldn't figure it out to save my life. So what I did was went back here, clicked this link again, and I just so happened to still be logged in on the Broadcom website. Click download Workstation Pro again, and it automatically redirected me to where I want to be. I'll take it. VMware Workstation for personal use, for Windows or for Linux. In this case, I am working from a Windows computer. So we'll expand this. 17.5.2 is the current version. Pop over here and you'll do your download. You can see the date that it was last updated, May 10th, 2024. Make a mental note of SHA-2 and MD5. These are hash values, essentially for integrity checks. Won't get into what the integrity checks are for today. Essentially just to make sure that what you intend to download is the file. So we won't go through the hashing algorithms and things of that nature. We'll save it for another day. But if you already know how to do it, you want to do the research on how to do the integrity check after you've downloaded the file, there you go. Those are your hash algorithms hashing algorithm outputs based on the file that you've downloaded, and then you can match them one for one. If they don't match, you got a problem. We'll pull this up, walk through the install wizard. So the setup wizard will install a VMware Workstation Pro on your computer. Click next to continue or cancel to exit. I'm actually going to walk through it. You can take the time to read the user agreement. Yes, add VMware Workstation console tools into system path. What that means, we'll get to that another day. But for now, at least you'll see where the program is being installed. Next, check for updates on startup. Sure, that's a good idea. Join the VMware customer experience improvement. I don't do them. Create a desktop shortcut. Yep. Now we are ready to install VMware Workstation Pro. Go ahead and click install. You'll see the status bar, validating the install. Will allow this to run. In the meantime, let's go ahead and actually we'll do a little bit of research on what I did earlier. So I mentioned Linux, or if I didn't, I said we were going to do free operating system or open source operating system, Linux. You can always check out linux.org, which if you do, this will pop up and you can see the different distributions of Linux. We're actually going to download a Ubuntu distribution. You also have CentOS, Debian, Fedora, Mint. All of them are slightly different in some way, shape, or form. Most popular ones that you'll probably hear a lot about, especially if you do find yourself working in the IT fields from I wouldn't say a cybersecurity perspective, but just working in IT, Linux, Red Hat, especially the enterprise version, while the basic version is open source and doesn't require any money. But the support for enterprise, there's a cost associated with that. You also have OpenSUSE, Mint, Arch, a few others that I haven't seen. I've heard of Puppy before, haven't used it in been a while. And then one of the favorites, Kali Linux. So we'll get to our Kali Linux download later. You know, the folks that are interested in hacking, red teaming, etc. Yes, Kali Linux is your operating system. That's the way we're going to go. We will get there. But for doing that, I would say pop to ubuntu.com just because I know that this can be trusted. Go to products, Ubuntu desktop, and then you can go ahead and start your Ubuntu desktop download. I've already done it, so I'm not going to click it. Save the resources. Pop back over here. All right, this is still working. So while this is working, let's go ahead and hit Kali.org. When you first log in, or when the page first loads, it'll probably be in light mode. I like the dark mode, in my opinion, a little bit easier on the eyes. And then you have a number of different options to choose from. So this tells you like the different virtual machines that you can choose from, the different architectures that you can choose from. At some point, I definitely want to get back into mobile and having Kali set up on a mobile device. I've downloaded NetHunter Pro a while ago. I think I had like an old Android phone. I do not suggest doing it on your primary phone. I would definitely have like a secondary phone and use it there. If you're doing any type of cloud install, so if you have an AWS account, they do have Kali Linux images built in, DigitalOcean. I haven't set up Azure. I have done a Kali image build in there as well. And those come prepackaged either in Azure or in AWS. What else do we have? So containers, you can build in Docker. Kali Live, bootable from a USB, great for forensics, recovery, things of that nature. And then Windows subsystem for Linux if you were doing an install in Hyper-V. And then we just want the standard install, which is back under installer. And we just want the 64-bit installer. Click download and let that run in the background as well. All right, now that our VMware Workstation Pro install is done, go ahead, click finish. We'll get this up and running. You can create a new virtual machine, open a new window. If you already have virtual machine files, maybe that somebody might give you, you can open them and be the same thing as opening a virtual machine. You'll see that later as you start to build it out. Different edits that you can make. Actually, we'll come back to this. view, full screen, or Control Alt Enter. We'll get to the console view stuff a bit later. Once the VMs load, we'll have options here. There's always the help. If for some reason you have a product key, let's just say like me, you paid for it, you would enter your license there. Software updates, I'm going to check for software updates. That's in help, support, and then hints. But for now, real quick, what I want to do is go into the virtual network editor. All right, so this saved what I did before. So actually, let's change settings just so I can walk through it with you. Oh, I don't want that, so we'll remove the network. And then I can even remove this. So more than likely, you're going to start with a NATed network. So network address translation, that's going to be your way to get out to the internet. I want to add another network for the purposes of internal communication. So between our Ubuntu and our Kali box, and then as we build out more VMs, they'll all be able to communicate on that same internal network. So we will add a network. I'm going to give that VMnet 0. See, it's assigning subnet IP address. I want my dot. You know what? I'll go with dot 33 just for the heck of it. So host only. We're going to use the local DHCP dynamic host configuration protocol. Essentially, this will automatically assign IP addresses for you, so you don't have to do static assignment. Anything else that I need to do? No, I think that's it. We can look at the DHCP settings. So we can see the first IP address. It's going to start with 128. We'll get into subnetting later. I really don't want to start that high. So I'm going to start with, we'll call it .3, and then maybe, and I'll leave it at 254. That's fine. Later, once we get into networking stuff, we'll talk about why that's important. There we go. While that is setting up, I actually can't do anything else while that's setting up. So give this a second. Now we're done. So now click create new virtual machine. Leave it at the recommended settings for now. Installer disk image. So those two files that you've already downloaded, being the Ubuntu download and the Kali Linux download, browse to where you have those saved. We'll start with Ubuntu. Click next. Your name, username that you're going to have. What do I want to name the system or name the virtual machine? I'm just going to name it Ubuntu. Actually, you know what? I'll name it Ubuntu Desktop because later I do want to work on something where we have a Ubuntu server. Maximum disk space that you can utilize. We'll bump it up from 20 gig to 40 gig. I don't think we don't need a whole lot of space, but just in case if we want to download a few applications and you want to start utilizing this, you're definitely going to start to take up space. One other thing that we want to do so we can take advantage of those two networks is add another network adapter. Click finish. So network adapter 1. Actually, let's move this to custom and then VMnet 8 NAT because that is the network that we've already assigned to get out to the internet via our host machine. And then network 2, once again, custom and VMnet 0 host only. That's going to be our internal communication. So make sure that stays there. Close. And we'll hit finish. We're running a virtual machine with side channel, that's fine. Ubuntu will do the same. English. This is pretty cool. I've never seen this. The accessibility options. So if you have any type of visual or hearing impairments, once again, English. I am using a wired connection, which yeah, we'll connect to the internet, allow it to get out, get updates, and we're going to install Ubuntu. We'll do the interactive installation. We'll use the default selection for now. Not going to install any third-party hardware or software at the moment. If you have like a aftermarket graphics card, be it like a NVIDIA or something of that nature, and you can have the drivers linked to this. Cool. Yep. Because there's nothing on the disk that we created, we'll go ahead and erase disk and install name. All right. Ubuntu is complete, ready to install and use. Kali is still working a bit, so let's go ahead and restart Ubuntu. Now that we're in, click next. Notice next. All right, finish. Up at the top, search. I want terminal. Alrighty. So, one of the first things that I like to do when really getting into any operating system, I think is trying to figure out, well, especially from command line perspective, and that's why we're in terminal. So again, some basics. So I would say start with help. See what is available to you. So we have a few different options that came out. Tells you some of the different commands that are available to you. One of the things that I would say to do, this would be the great time to maybe grab like the Linux for Dummies or the Linux command line for Dummies, and then just kind of start to learn, or find another tutorial video to just kind of step through what is available to you for command line. I'll make sure that I find the Linux for Dummies book and get a link shared and posted for that. So I'll make sure that that's in the description. So clears the screen. First thing, who am I? Yep, we are NGSL. Once you do have commands that you're running, 9 times out of 10, you can put a -h behind it, or in this case, this is saying do a -- help. So that'll tell you um, version information. Let's take a look at our operating system. So we can do a uname. What do you get? Tells you it's Linux. Uname tag or dash. I'll probably say tack quite a bit. Just how I grew up, what I learned. Uh, so uname with help, and then you see all of the different options that are available to you. So if you wanted to look at just the kernel name, later we can get into what kernels are, the release version of processor, hardware platform, or if you just want it all, do a -a. That'll give you a little bit of everything. What I do like about Linux and Windows is there now as well. Um, but if you're unsure of exactly what it is that you're trying to run, if you just hit the tab key a couple times, that will give you the options of what's available to you and kind of guessing essentially what it is you're trying to type out. So in this case, I wanted LSB release. So there's no LSB modules available. But out of curiosity, what's in the help menu? So just for giggles, actually, let me clear this. And then go back and do a tag A just for kids. Ah, well, there we go. So we have our distribution, Ubuntu, the exact description, 2404, the release, and code name. So we got a little bit of information. Clear this. Some other basics you can do in LS shows you essentially listing or list. There's your directory structure. Other quick things would be like a change directory, or actually before you even do that, do PWD, what is present working directory. So we're in our home, and then from here we can see what our options are. And then we can CD to / now dev CD, and then as I said, you can tab a couple times up, hit it one too many times. And then since I already started D, you can go to downloads. Is there anything in downloads? Doing LS? Nope, there's nothing there, which I'm not surprised. CD to go back a directory, CD dot dot. Let's see what may be on desktop. So CD desktop, doing LS, nothing there. CD dot dot to get back. For now, that's really about it on the Ubuntu front. Just some quick basics. Oh, we can check our IP address information. So you can do a IPA, and this tells us our loopback. So internal 127.0.0.1. Get into that later. ENS 33. So this is our primary, and this is going to be our IP address that allows us to get out to the internet. And then we have our 192.168.33.3, which this will be our internal network. Here. Then again, the same kind of applies. If you wanted to see what other options were available to you under IP, do the same thing. Clear. Quickly just hover across the top. If you want, you can always pin the toolbar or the command bar. In this case, I don't necessarily want to. Do want to take a look at Kali, see how that's doing. All right, once Kali is up and running, then we can test our network communication. For now, we'll just let this keep running. In the meantime, start playing with Ubuntu and learn a little bit. So we finally have made some progress, and we are on to installing the bootloader. Just drop it on dev SATA. Just a few more steps to our Kali install. It's done setting user passwords. Cool. Getting close to the finish line. So we have a number of tools that we can use to just kind of learn a little bit more about your local system. It's network connections, ENS33, again, that's our way out. Don't have a VPN set up. We're not going to meter that connection. Ethernet, so that's the device. We're not cloning any MAC addresses. MTU, we're going to leave it automatic. Like all these things, we'll leave for now. We can get into the networking stuff later. 802.1x security. We'll get into that later. I'm not going to use data center bridging. Not a data center. Don't have a proxy set up. Something else we can get to another day. IPv4. So right now we are dynamically assigned. If we wanted, we could go manual and then do a static assignment, and then we would just pick the IP address within the range. But we're going to leave it at dynamic. IPv6. I didn't configure IPv6. You can. IPv6 is a monster in itself. What else can we play with while in here? Take a look at system monitor. Load this up. All right, so all of the processes that are running and the user that started it. Okay. This reminds me, another way to look at processes, typically in a Linux environment, I don't look at processes via GUI. Typically, I look at them in terminal window, and we do PS. But before we do that, PS. Really, fine, be that way. Did do PS dash dash help. What? Standard PS. Then you can get into what we call the different switches. So PS dash AUX. This looks a little bit more like the output of what we saw just a minute ago in the GUI or the graphical user interface. All right, so looking at this, you can see different users. Here, notice you see root as the user instead of the user that you had created. PID, so your process ID, percentage of CPU that's being used, percentage of memory that's being used. We can keep scrolling. You can see when it started. We started this on August 7th, which is correct. More processes, more processes, more processes, more and more processes. How they're all linked. See if we can find something that our user is running. And then after all the system stuff, now we can see where the user has started processes, programs, and started to run various things. And if we get all the way to the bottom of this, you can see that the last thing that was run was the command that we ran, the psaux bash was us opening the terminal. So you can see where this process don't have PIDs listed or the parent PID. So the process ID that is linked to the process ID of this particular process that's running. What else? What else? What else? Oh, hop back to Cali. Finally, installation complete. Ooh, took long enough. We still got to wait for the reboot. can go through your applications. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through these at the moment, just for the sake of time in the video, but we'll pull up our Kali instance, sorry, Kali terminal window, I should say. Make this a little bit bigger. Cool. Do an IPA. All right. So our internal, ooh, my eth0 didn't get an IP address to make it out. No big deal. Our eth1 gave us an internal IP. So I know that we have another host or machine on this network, but let's just say that I didn't know that. So we can do an nmap. I'll just keep it super basic. Let's just assume that you don't know a whole lot. 192.168.33.0/24. So /24, we can get into subnetting and things of that nature later, but /24 tells us that 192.168.33 is the network. The rest of this octet is reserved for IP addresses within the network. Again, I can do a whole lesson on subnetting, but we'll come back to that at another time. And actually, I want to cancel this and make it just a little bit quicker. And then this is going to search for hosts that are live on the network. This is creating all kinds of network traffic in the background. And we got a return, so we know this is us. And we have a 192.168.33.3. So, oh, just realized can't quite see all of that. So let's ping 192.168.33.3. Again, we know it's up. TTL or a time to live. Usually Linux systems are 64 by default. Windows hosts are 128 by default. Yes, that can change with a few different things. You hit a router, or if you decide to manually adjust those, yes, but default controller will kind of denote a Linux or Windows system on a network. See what information we can get about this system. I'm a fan of the man pages in Nix-based systems instead of just help. Sometimes I think the man pages are a lot more informative. Just kind of space bar your way through the man pages kind of gives you an example. So if you were to do nmat tac or -a -t4, again, scanme.nmap.org, right? So that is a website that you can scan. It's there for those purposes, for training, learning, etc. Host discovery, so we can get into a few different options here, but I will keep it super basic. So we'll hit Q for quit. Let me, clear this. Go back to my nmat. I can get rid of the T5. I want to do a service version. And you know what? Let me just do -a. Throw the kitchen sink at it and see what we get. But I don't want to do the whole network. I only want to do that one IP address. And let's see what information we get back. This is kind of the beginning of what I would consider to be like vulnerability scanning. Oh, Nmap report. Host is up, but ports are closed. Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. I wonder if there's another way in. Well, this only scanned the top 1,000 ports. Let's do all the ports. See what happens. Wonder if we get any different results. I'm not expecting anything different, as there really isn't anything that's communicating. If we were hosting a web server or if we had like the SSH service up and running. So because there's really no services that are running, then I don't expect to see anything different. Cool. Wow, that is running. Other thing that I'm gonna work on. All right, so we scanned all 65,535 ports and nothing was shown. All right, let's change that. Okay, now that our web server is running, let's do our Nmap scan again and see what results we return. This should give us something different. If it doesn't, there we go. All right. So now that we have started a service that is running on port 80, you see that it's HTTP, gives you exactly what it is. It's an Apache server, the version, it's on Ubuntu. Huh. Let's do maybe one more. Actually, you know what? Nah, not gonna do that. Do know what I want to do. To the default Kali page. 192.168 33 colon 80. And there's our Ubuntu website. And with that, we'll call it a day. Thank you for tuning in. Truly appreciate your time. Hopefully, this is helpful and kind of gets you started on your path to the cybersecurity realm. I'm Demetrius Deck. Have a good day.